My father's side of the family was small because two brothers married two sisters, so that kept
Do you know where the family came from?
I'm really not sure. And the one person who would know passed away a few years ago.
Yeah, okay.
But I would say that like the Slavic area of Europe.
No, it's I don't even know my grandparents' names. We just called them the Goysa Zayda, the Goysa Baba. So I never even knew their names. But I know my father's family came from Kiev in 1903.
I have, I think I have a folder that's his family tree. And I think Nancy sent me information that hopefully I still have. I want to say Musaf. But there is somebody, when I look at Saul Fellis, he reminds me of my uncle, my father's brother, but there's no.
I mean, there is so many Weinsteins. I mean, it's impossible.
Oh, gosh, oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, so.
If I remember, and I will, I'll look, I'll see that, see my thought, because some of them went to Israel, some of them got out before the Holocaust, and one was a grand rebbe or a rebbe or something like that, and Nancy said, in her note, she said, and Hitler got the rest of it.
They ended in Philadelphia, so there's not even another side in there.
No, my family was always in New York.
So.
Other than my uncle who was addicted to the army.
All right.
All right. I'm sure we're not. But it would be nice if we were.
good job.
Cheryl last night wasn't here, but I told her that I was watching it. Yeah. I'm here now. I'm here later.
We're a startup religion. It was 3,000 years. We're good. Still gentle.
Teacher, Rabbi.
Gentle to everyone. We begin our concentrated service this morning on page 69. Page 69.
Hamelech Yoshevai
kisei ram v'nisa shochena marom v'kadosh mo v'chatuv ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai Laisharim navatehilam befi sharim titromam udivrei tzadikim titbarach uvilishon chasidim titkadash uvekerev kedoshim titahalal שכן חובת כל היצורים לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו להודות להלל לשבח לפאר לרומם להדר לברך להלל ולקלל ז"ל כל דברי שירות ותשבחו דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך. We rise to the bottom paragraph on page 69. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. ברכות והודות מעתה ועד עולם ברוך אתה אדוני אל מלך גדול ותשבחות אל ההודעות האדון הנפלאות הבוחר בשירי זמרה מלך אלוהי העולמים. Bottom of page 70. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה וילמד יברח חירותי ויאמיר מלכותי חייכון ויומייכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בעגלו בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי מי רבה מבורך יעלם לעולמי עולמי יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשא בריחו לעילא מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא אמרו אמן. Page 71. ברכו את אדוני המבורך ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם מבעד. We begin the bracha on page 71. We do not answer amen to this part of the bracha because the bracha keeps on going for pages. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם יוצא הפותח לנו שערי רחמים ומאיר עיניך המחכים לסליחתו יוצא אור ובורא חושך עושה שלום ובורא את הכל אור עולם ביוצר חיים אורות מיופל אמר ויהי. May be seated. Top of page 72, the first paragraph. Ameir la'aretz v'ladorim aleha v'rachamim. Miskabeinu magen yisheinu miskabateinu. Page 75, the bottom of the page. Hamachadesh b'tuvo v'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit kamur li'osei orim gidolim ki li'olam chazdo or chadash al tzion ta'ir v'nizkeh chulanu me'ira li'oro baruch ata Adonai yotzei ra'a me'oro. 76. באהבה רבה ותנו אדוני אלוהינו חמלה גדולה ותורה חמלת עלינו אבינו מלכנו בעבור אבותינו שבטחו בך אבינו מלכנו ותלמדם חוקי חיים כן תכוננו תלמדנו אבינו אב הרחמן המרחם עלינו ותן בליבנו להבין ולהשכיל לשמוע ללמוד וללמד לשמור ולעשות ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה. אבינו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו כי אל פועל ישועותתה ובנה בחרת מכל עם ולשון וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ויראת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך ובקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We're at the middle of page 77, continuing with the next two paragraphs of the Shema individually through to the middle of page 78. Adonai Elohechem emet. Emet shatahu Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu. Malkeinu melech Avotenu go'aleinu go'el Avotenu yotzreinu tzrishuateinu Einu matzilenu v'olam shemecha Ein Elohim zulatecha. We turn to page 80 to conclude this blessing that leads to the Amidah. Ga'al Yisrael is its conclusion. God is the one who has redeemed us over and over and over again. We will recite the Amidah in the fused form that we've been using for Rosh Hashanah as well. And that is, we begin as a community out loud, and then after the sanctification of God's name, the Kedusha, we proceed individually and silently. We made these little handouts that are hopefully still in your machzorim. And one side has for Rosh Hashanah, did that already. And this side has the instructions for how to recite the Amidah on Yom Kippur. It's written out because it's a little complicated. So we'll begin after page 80 concludes. We begin on page 252. So we're skipping all the way to 252. We recite the beginning of the Amidah out loud through the top of 254. Then we go to 256, so we skip 255. And we continue through the Kedusha on 257. And then we turn back to 215 for our silent Amidah. So I don't expect anybody to remember any word that I just said. That's why it's here. That's why it's right here. So please avail yourselves of this little handy handout. An alternative is that we also have outside on the tables this distillation of the Amidah. Each blessing of the Amidah is given a kind of an open box, and each one of us is asked to fill that box however we are capable of doing it. So that's a tool that some people find useful outside. So page 80, and then page 252. Please rise. Tilo Elyon Baruch Hu Vorach Moshe u'Miriam u'Bnei Yisrael Echanu Shira L'simcha Rabba Yamru Chulam Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai Mi Kamocha Nedar B'Kodesh Norati Chol Dosei Feleh Shira Chadasha Shivchu Geolim L'Shimcha Tzvat Hayam Yachad Kulam Hodu V'Himlichu Ve'yameru Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed Tzur Yisrael Kuma Be'ezrat Yisrael Uvdeichenu Mecha Yehuda Ve'Yisrael Go Aleinu Adonai Tzvaot Shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor VeHaNorah El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Etovim V'Konei Yaakov V'Zocher Chazdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevii Goel למען שמו ויעבד. 253. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני וחיי מתים, אתה רב להושיע. מחלקי לחיים בחסד, בחיי מתים רבים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו שעיני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך מהימית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אב הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור הללויה. כי אתה קדוש יושב תהילות ישראל אלנן. 256. ובכן לך הכל יכירו, ואלו לכתים. וכן לבבות ביום דין, לגולה עמוקות בדין, לדובר מישרים ביום דין, להוגד היות בדין, לוותיק ויעשה חסד ביום דין, לזוכר בריתו בדין, לחומר למעשיו ביום דין, לטהר חוסיו בדין, ליודע מחשבות ביום דין, לחובש כעסו בדין, ללובש צדקות ביום דין, למוכר עוונות בדין, לנורא תהילות ביום דין, לסולח למוסף בדין, ליונה לקורב ביום דין, לפועל רחמיו בדין. Shomrei Avadav Baladim L'rachem Amo B'yom Din L'shomer Ohavav Baladim L'tomech Temimav B'yom Din Uvechein ulecha Tale Kedusha. 257. Yad Eloheinu melech mochel v'soleyach Na'aritzecha v'na'aritzecha Yisod Siyach Sarfei Kodesh Amakishim Shimecha V'Kodesh K'katuv Al Yad Nevi'echa V'karazel Zeh Ve'yamar Kadosh 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 Adonai Tzevaot Elohim haaretz Kivodo Vodo Malei Olam Misharetav Shoalim Ze Lazeh Ayeh Mekom Kivodo Leumatam Baruch Yomeru Baruch Kivod Adonai Bimkomo Yifen Berachamim Ve'yavonam Ami Achadim Shemo Erev Avoker V'chol Yom Tamid Pamayim B'yama Sha'omerim Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Umalikeinu Moshienu Vehu Yashmi'enu Berachamav Shenit Le'einei Kol Chai Lihiyot Lachem Le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adir Adireinu Adonai Adoneinu Ma'adir Shimcha B'chol haaretz Ve'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu Yeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad U'divrei kodshecha katuv le'mor Yimloch Adonai le'olam Elohai Yitzyon Dor vador, Hallelujah. Ledor vador, nagid godlecha. Ulenetzach netzachim kidushatcha nagdish. V'shivechacha Eloheinu mipinu le'amush le'olam va'ed. Ki elemelech gadol v'kadosh ata. Turn now back to page 215 for our silent prayers. 215. We rise page 271. We'll recite Avinu Malkeinu in a shortened format, the first line, and then we will recite the lines in the middle of the page in bold print, and then the final concluding prayer of Avinu Malkeinu. Page 271. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Hachazireinu, b'teshuva shlema lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, shlach rufuah shlema l'cholei amecha. Avinu Malkeinu, zochreinu b'zikaron tov lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, kotveinu b'sefer chayim tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, kotveinu b'sefer gula v'yeshua. Avinu Malkeinu, kotveinu b'sefer parnasa v'chalkala. Avinu Malkeinu, kotveinu b'sefer zchuyot. Avinu Malkeinu, kotveinu b'sefer slicha u'mechila. 272, the top of the page. Avinu Malkeinu, Oneinu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Oneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu maasim. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, ve'hoshienu. Full Kaddish, page 272. יתקדם ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויאמר יברח קירותי וימליך מלכותי וחייכונו וימיכונו וחי לכל בית ישראל ועגלו בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. היי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולם היה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשא בריחו ויעלה ליעלה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דם וירם ויעלמה ואמרו אמן. יקבל צלותנו ואלתנו לכל ישראל קודמה והון דבשמיא ואמרו אמן. וישלום רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל. הוא יעשה שלום, הוא יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל. הוא יעשה שלום, הוא יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. We turn now to page 274 for the Torah service. We'll begin with the last paragraph on the page. There's 2 Torahs taken out, so whoever is being honored with carrying the second Torah, please come a little closer. All right, I see you. I got you. All right. 274. ויבן אהרון ויאמר משה קומה אדוני ויפוצו אויביך וינוסו משנאיך מפניך כי מציון תצא תורה כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים ברוך שנתן תורה ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. Page 275, 13 attributes of God's mercy. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Echanun, El בפשע וחטא ונקה. אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, ערך אפיים ורב חסד ואמת, נוצר חסד לאלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקה. אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, ערך אפיים ורב חסד ואמת, נוצר חסד לאלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקה. Middle of the page. Ani tefilati, tefilati, lecha Adonai, et ratzon, Elohim merov chasdecha, Alehi, emet yishecha, v'ani tefilati lecha Adonai, et ratzon, Elohim berov chasdecha, Page 276, the middle of the page. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'norah Shemo. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'norah Shemo. Gadol Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav. Adonai Hagidula v'Hagivura v'Hatiferet v'Hanetzach v'Hahod Kicho b'Shamayim u'ba'aretz Kicho b'Shamayim u'ba'aretz Lecha Adonai Ha'amachah v'Amid na'aseh lecho V'ishtachavu lehar kodsho ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. If you are honored with an aliyah to the Torah, please remember that you will be called by the Gabbai, Na'ala Hamod. Dramatic like that, right? And then you will stand at your place, say your Hebrew name if you have it, otherwise your regular name, and then the Gabbai will say La Aliyah Aleph, La Aliyah Bet, whatever aliyah it is, and you will, if you can, stand while your Torah portion is being read on your behalf. If you're not able to stand, that's okay. And then after the Torah portion is read, that section, you recite the concluding blessing and take your seat, and then we'll call the next person. Torah reading is found in our Machzorim. And it's found on page 278. 278. ואתם הבקים בגללכם, חיים כולכם היום. First aliyah. Your names?
Yael, Abraham,
Aliyah Aleph.
Aliyah Aleph, Baruch Shenatan Torah L'Amo Yisrael B'Kedushato.
אתם הבקים בגללכם, חיים כולכם היום. Blessing.
Amen. וידבר אדוני אל משה אחרי מות שני בני אהרון בקרבתם לפני אדוני וימותו. ויאמר אדוני אל משה דבר אל אהרון אחיך ויבוא בכל עת אל הקודש מבית הפרוכת על פני הכפורת אשר על הארון ולא ימות כי בענן יראה על הכפורת. וזאת יבוא אהרון אל הקודש בפר בן בקר לחטאת ועיל לעולה כתונת בד קודש יובש ומכנסי בד יהיו בשרו ובבני בד יחקור ובמצנפת בד יצנוב בגדי קודש הם ברחץ פעמיים את בשרו ולבשם ומעד עדת בני ישראל ייקח שני שעירי עזים לחטאת ועיל אחד לעולה הקריב אהרון את פר החטאת אשר לו וכיפר בעדו ובעד ביתו.
Second aliyah is on the top of 279. Nalamod. Aliyah Bet.
Amen. V'lakakas nesirim, emidotam lifnei Adonai, petach ohel moed, v'natan Aharon, ash nesirim goralot, goral echad l'Adonai, v'goral echad l'Azazel, v'ikri v'haron et ha'sa'ir, asher Allah alav, hagoral l'Adonai, v'hasahu chatat, v'hasa'ir, asher Allah alav, hagoral Azazel, yo'omad chai, lifnei Adonai, לכפר עליו, ושלח אותו לעזאזל המדברה, והקריב אהרון בפר החטאת אשר לו, וכיפר בעדו ועד ביתו, ושחט את פר החטאת אשר לו.
Third Aliyah is in the middle of 279. Nalamod.
Eliyahu Moshe ben Yehuda Ketzko.
Aliyah Gimel.
Baruchu. Start the bracha.
Baruch Hu Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai. Baruch Atah Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai. Eloheinu melech olam asher. Baruch Rabbeinu Mikol Omin. V'nosam lanu es Torah. Baruch Atah Adonai. Nosein HaTorah. Amen.
Amen. ולקח ולמקטה, והכלי מעל המזבח מלפני אדוני, ומלוך אופניו כתורת סמים דקה, והביא מבית לפרוכת, ונתן את הקטורת על האש לפני אדוני, וכיסה ענן הקטורת את הכפורת, אשר על העדות ולא ימות, ולקח מדם הפר, והזב אצבעו, על פני הכפורת קדמה לפני הכפורת, יעזה 7 פעמים מן הדם באצבעו, ושחט את שעיר החטאת אשר לעם, והביא את דמו מבית לפרוכת, ועשה את דמו כאשר עשה לדם הפר, והיזה אותו על הכפורת ולפני הכפורת, וכיפר על הקודש מטומאות בני ישראל, מפריסיהם לכל חטאותם, וכן יעשה לאור המועד השוכן איתם בתוך טומאתם, וכל אדם לא יהיה באור המועד בבואו לכפר בקודש עד צאתו, וכיפר בעדו ובעד ביתו ובעד כל קהל ישראל.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher nosan lanu Torah semes v'chayei olam l'tava shalkeinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Nosein HaTorah. Amen.
Fourth Aliyah in the middle of page 280. Nalamod.
Avraham, Yitzhak, ben Yosef Zeb.
Alicia, Bat, Yosef Cohen, Sarah.
Aliyah Dalet.
Hu Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
אמן. ויצא אל המזבח אשר לפני אדוני וכיפר עליו, ולקח מדם הפר ומדם השעיר ונתן על קרנות המזבח סביב, והיזה עליו מן הדם באצבעו 7 פעמים, שיעברו וקידשו מטומאות בני ישראל, וכילה מכפרת הקודש בתוך מועד המזבח, והקריב את השעיר החי, ושמח אהרון את שתי ידיו על ראש השעיר החי, והתוודה עליו לכל עוונות בני ישראל, לכל פשעיהם, לכל חטאותם, ונתן אותם על ראש השעיר, ושילח ביד אישיתי המדברה, ונשא השעיר עליו את כל עוונותם אל ארץ גזירה, ושילח את השעיר במדבר. Uva Aharon Elohim Moed Uvashat Epigdei Habad Asher Lavash V'Oel HaKodesh V'Hinicham Sham V'Rachat Epesarav Amayim B'Makom Kadosh V'Lavash Epigadav V'Yatsa V'Yasat Olato V'Tolat Ha'am V'Chiper Bado Uve'ad Ha'am.
Fifth Aliyah is on the top of page 281. Nalamod.
One sec. Do we have the Torah reader for Chamishi?
We do.
Great. Go out.
6 lines from the bottom. 6 lines from the bottom. Say that again? 6 lines from the bottom.
Meanwhile, while we're pausing for that,
Right there,
let's turn
right
to
there.
page 115. 115. We offer our prayers for those who are ill. We have 2 stanzas to this prayer. I'll chant the first stanza and pause, and each of us can keep in mind the person or persons who we are praying for, and then we'll conclude with the second stanza. Mi shebehirach avoteinu mekor habracha le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebehirach imoteinu mekor habracha lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, renewal of body, renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Fifth Aliyah, top of 281. Nalamod. Aliyah Hey.
Baruch Hu,
Baruch
Adonai Amorach Le'olam Vaed.
Amen. Ve'et chelev chachatat yaktir hamizbecha v'hamishaleach et hasa'ir la'azazel yechabeis begadav v'rachatz et besaro b'mayim ve'acharei chen yavo el hamachaneh ve'et par hachatat ve'et se'ir hachatat asher uva et damam lechaper b'kodesh yotzi el michutz lamachaneh v'sarefu ba'esh et orotam ve'et besaram ve'et pirsham v'hasoref otav yechaper begadav יקבץ בגדיו ורחץ את בשרו במים ואחרי כן יבוא אל המחנה והייתה לכם לחוקת עולם בחודש השביעי בעשור לחודש תענו את נפשותיכם וכל מלאכה לא תעשו האזרח והגר הגר בתוככם כי ביום הזה יכפר עליכם לטהר אתכם מכל חטאותיכם לפני אדוני תטהרו.
Sixth Aliyah is on page 281 in the middle. Nalamod. Aliyah. Vaz.
Amen. Shabbat Shabbaton hi lachem, v'initem v'nafshotechem, chukat olam, v'chiper hakohen, asher yimshach oto, v'asher yimalek yado, l'chahen tachat aviv, v'lavash, et bigdei habad, bigdei hakodesh, v'chiper, v'mikdash hakodesh, v'et ohel moed, v'tamizbeach yechaper, v'al hakohanim, v'akol hamakahal yechaper, v'ayet hazot lachem, chukat olam, l'chaper, al b'nei Yisrael mikol chatotam, achat b'shana, v'yas ha'asher, tziva Adonai et Moshe.
יתקדש מרבם, אברהם וגם לב מלכותי,
ובחייך בית ישראל, First Tag Baglila. Try to remember how you do it. Get up, turn around. Pick it over the edge. Vezot Torah Asher Moshe back down again. Yad Moshe. Let's roll it up tight. Yad la 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 yad la 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 yad la 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 yad la 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 yad la 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 yad la 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 Ashir Ashiveinu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu Kekedem Ashiveinu Elecha v'nashuva Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu Kekedem. And that put that on, please. You may be seated. Maftir is on page 282. One second. Nobody is here to read the Torah. Thank you. Who's reading Maftir?
I can do it if no one's here.
You read? You can't?
I can.
Then please. Now.
Nalamud.
Baruch
Amen. Uve'asor לחודש השביעי הזה מקרא קודש יהיה לכם ועיניתם נפשותיכם כל מלאכה לא תעשו וקראתם עולה לאדוני ריח ניחוח בן בקר אחד עיל אחד כבשים בני שנה שבעה תמימים יהיו לכם ומנחתם סולף לולב השמן 3 עשרונים לפר 2 עשרונים לעיל האחד עשרון לכבש האחד לשבעת הכבשים זריזים אחד חטאת מלבד חטאת הכיפורים ועולת התמיד ומנחתה ונזקיהם.
Second raising of the Torah. Who's honored with that? Marshall. Torah asher Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai yad Moshe Torah tziva lanu Moshe Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Maybe seated. Torah tziva lanu Moshe Torah tziva lanu Moshe Morasha kehilat Yaakov Morasha kehilat Yaakov Morasha kehilat Yaakov Torah tziva lanu Moshe.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנביאים טובים וגלתה בדבריהם הן מילים באמת. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו וישראל עמו ונביאי האמת והצדק קירה בגרון אל תחסוך
285.
קירה בגרון אל תחסוך כשופר הרי קולך בהגיד למי פשעם ולבד יעקב הטותם יתי יום יום ירשום ידעת דרכה וחפצון כגוי אשר צדק עשה ומשפט אלוהיו לא עזב לשובוני משפטי צדק וקרבת אלוהים לפצצון למצומה ולא ראית ענין הנפשע ולא תדע כן ביום התכם חוטא חפץ ולא אביכם תנגוסו כן לריב המצחת צומו וכבד והקרוב לבשו לא תצומו כיום והשמיע בררות כד לכם החזה יהיה זון וחרבו יום ענוד אדם בשם ולאחיו ועקוב הגמו ראשו וסגרה ויציע והלק תקרצון ויום רצון אדוני הלו זה זום אחריך פתח רבץ ורצבות ראשה בתי אגבות מותה ושלח הצציע הפשיל וכל מאות תנתקו הלו פרה ולעת לחמך והניים ורבים תבוד ביום בית בעתך אורך כסיתו מבשרך לו תתעלם אז יבקש בשוחה אורך וירקתך מהרי וצמא והלך לפניך צדקך ברבור אדוני לאספך עוז תקרא לאדוני ועדי תשובה ואומר הנני המתסותיק מתוכך מותה שלח הצבא דרבה אבן ותפק הריב נפשך והנפש ועדה תסבד בניה וזרע מחושך עריך והפעלתך בצהריים ונכח אדוני תמיד והסיביה ותחצות נפשך וענותותיך והליץ וחיית באדם רבן והמוצוצי מים אשר לא יכזה ממה ויענו ממך הדבות עולם ממדי דור ודור מקמא וקרא לך דרב פרץ משבת נתגות לשבת אם תעשו משפט רגליך ואספתך ביום קדשו כקראת לשבת עונה לקדוש אדוני וכל מקבלתר מעושו דברכך מרצון בפצך ודבר עוז תתעונן לאדוני יחרב בראותך על במטה הארץ וחדותיך ותלך יעקב אביך כפי אדוני נבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם כל עולמים צדיק כל הדורות האלה למעמנו ומדבר על שכל דבריו בנאת צדק. ואתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו בנאים דברך וכל מפארך וכל יושב לכם כמלך נאמן רחמן אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האלוהימן וכל דבריו. רחם על ציון כי היא בדחיינו ולבת נפש תשיע בהוריו ולבוא בלבנו ברוך אתה אדוני מסמיך ציון ביעניה. סמכנו אדוני אלוהינו אליהו ועבדך ומלכות בית אביב נשיקך דין ורע ובואו גאו לבנו על כיסו לישו זה ולא יקחו עוד גרועים את קרבו כי כשם קדשך דשפטת לו שלא יקבו נרו ללא מועד ברוך אתה אדוני מגן דוד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום הכיפורים הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו למחלה לסלחה לכפרה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ובורכים אותך יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד ודברך אמת כיום לעוד. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מוחל וסלח ועוונותינו ולעוונות מבית ישראל המעביר אשר השומותנו בכל שנה ושנה מלך על כל הארץ מקדש ישראל ביום הכיפורי.
אמן. Go on. Pray for our country. Arachaman yivarech et haaretz hazot v'yishmor aleha. May the merciful one bless this country and take good care of it. Prayer for the state of Israel. Arachaman yivarech et medinat Yisrael shetehei reshit tzmichat geulatenu. May the merciful one bless the state of Israel so that one day it may become the dawn of our redemption. Let's turn to page 289. And I ask that we read the prayer for peace together. I ask you to start with the lines in the regular font, and then I'll read the lines in the italics. Bottom of the page. 1, 2, 3. When may see the day when war and bloodshed cease, when the great peace will embrace the whole world. Then nation will not threaten nation, and humankind will not again know war. For all who live on earth shall realize the mountain of thee. Compassionate God, bless the leaders of all nations with the power of compassion. Fulfill the promise conveyed in Scripture. I will bring peace to the land, and you shall lie down, and no one shall terrify you. I will rid the land of vicious beasts, and it shall not be ravaged by war. Let love and justice flow like a mighty stream. Let peace fill the earth as the waters fill the sea. And let us say, Amen. Amen. Shana Tova. We come now to our third figure, who is so important in our observance of the days of awe. The first, Abraham, spoke about him on Rosh Hashanah, was ushered by God outside of the tent in order to gaze at the stars above and renew his faith. And last night, we talked of the second, Sarah. She stayed in the tent and somehow grew her faith there. The third is one who is commanded to enter the tent in order to achieve atonement for himself, for his family, and his whole people. This is Aaron, the high priest. The first two of our protagonists struggled on behalf of a dimly understood future. To vouchsafe that future, these two partners were prepared, each in their own way, to make hard choices that could even have been judged to be sins. Just so, they risked themselves for a hope, the hope of blessing. For our third hero, the circumstances are different. The future, only dreamt of by the ancients, has begun to unfold, so that some of it has already become the past. Indeed, our third hero struggles on behalf of a sorely remembered past. Aaron must now perform sacred acts, the Yom Kippur rituals, in order to make up for sins already committed by himself, by his family, and by all of Israel. The future cannot be known, but the past can be known. Aaron knows what sins he, his family, and his people have committed. It is with that knowledge, Bizot Yavo Aharon El HaKodesh. It is with that knowledge that he must enter into the tent. The angels had asked Abraham, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" And he answered them, "Hinei ba'ohel," see, in the tent. And now we humans ask ourselves, where is the eternal, our God? And we answer ourselves, see, in the tent. So Aaron must enter the tent of meeting, into the hidden Holy of Holies, and risk himself for a hope, the hope for forgiveness. What sins did Aaron know of that called for atonement? What was it that was such a terrible sin? Was it a sin to love his siblings, Moses and Miriam, very much? Was it a sin that he loved his sons very much? That he loved his people very much? That he loved peace very much? And yet Moses, his beloved brother, hurled an enraged and heartbroken challenge at Aaron when he came down from the mountain. And he said, "What has this people done to you for you to have brought upon them a great sin?" Moses has come down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the Torah, ready to present them to the people of Israel. Moses had ascended the mountain at Israel's behest to receive the Torah on behalf of the people. He had left Israel under Aaron's protective care. Aaron would watch over them until Moses returned from his mission. But he is confronted with the sight of a people dancing around the golden calf, singing that this calf is Israel's God. How could this happen on Aaron's watch? Aaron pleads, "My master, please don't be angry. You know how bad off the people are. They told me, make a God for us because this man Moses who took us up from Egypt, we don't know what happened to him." The people were confused, overcome with anxiety, in a panic. Their leader Moses had disappeared up the mountain. They were bereft and frightened. Of course they were. They had every right to be overwhelmed with fear and concern. And who could feel their pain more acutely than Aaron, the man of empathy? He is swept away by his empathy so that he joins in their desperation instead of leading them despite it. He felt their pain and confusion so strongly that he could not conceive of standing up to them and telling them that they must not let their fear rule over them. Instead, he let their fear dictate their response and his response to their crisis. And Aaron cannot admit that he could have been a different kind of leader. He cannot admit that he was responsible for giving in to the people and assisting in their wrongful choice of a solution to their crisis. He takes no personal responsibility for making the golden calf. Incredibly, he says, quote, "So I told them, whoever has gold, let them give it to me, and I threw it into the fire, and out came this calf." And out came this calf, quote unquote, all by itself. Aaron cannot admit that he could have been a different kind of leader, perhaps because he really was not capable of being a different kind of leader. He was too loving to say no to the people. He could not bring himself to tell the people the truth or to raise the people above their fears and find their own strength in the truth inherited from Abraham and from Sarah, that God was still and would always be with them, a truth that they refused to believe. Yet his terrible sin, which brought long-lasting catastrophe to the people he loved so, came from love. So what happened to Aaron? What was his punishment for leading the people into mass fear, mass delusion, mass idolatry? Aaron was sentenced to a lifetime of community service and a lifetime of divine service. Aaron was sentenced to become the high priest. Only after his monumental and tragic failure at Sinai is this sentence declared and put into effect. He cannot judge the people. He cannot stand up to the people, but he can be the exemplar of love for the people and for God. Every time Aaron confronted one of the bulls that had to be slaughtered on the altar, he would have to think of the calf he denied he created. Every time he entered the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur and sprinkled blood in the direction of the golden cherubs who covered the tablets in the ark, he had to think of the blood spilt before the golden statue that he denied creating when the tablets were smashed. Every time he entered the Holy of Holies and offered incense that filled that mysterious space with smoke, he would have to remember the fire and smoke of Mount Sinai and the fire and smoke offered by the people down below. Only in this way could atonement be achieved, and only he could achieve it. Many idolatrous worshippers of the golden calf died for their sin, but Aaron, the direct creator of this idol of fear and love and failure, was kept alive in order to fill this role, to take responsibility for his terrifying failure through love. And he was kept alive in order to teach this lesson to his sons. But it seems that he did not succeed in doing this. It seems he did not convey to them that this job was his for very specific and personal reasons. The rituals were not holy magic in themselves. They would work because it was Aaron who would have to perform them. It seems he did not succeed in teaching his sons, and then shockingly, two of them undertook to perform the priestly rituals themselves, independent of their father. And they perished. Yom Kippur ritual is specifically introduced, acharei mot, after the death of two of Aaron's sons when they drew near before God and died. If only Aaron had succeeded in explaining to them, boys, you'll have your turn to reenact this drama. But for now, it must be me who does this. Thus must Aaron tread into the tent and perform these acts so as to bring about atonement for himself, for his family, and for his people. And so must each of us go deeply into our tents and examine our own lives and our own stories for ourselves, for our families, and for our whole people, and seek a better way. Good job. Turn now to the Isker Prayers. Starting on page 294. No, 290, I'm sorry. Please rise. Adonai Matam Bateda Ehu Ben Enosh Batechashvehu Adam Lahevel Dama Yamav Kitzelover Baboker Yatzitz Vechalav La'erev Yimolel Yavesh Limnot Yameinu Kein Hoda Benavi Levav Chochmah. The deaths of those we now remember left holes in our lives. May we be grateful for the gift of their lives and be strengthened by the blessings that they left us. And may their precious memories comfort us and sustain us as we recall them on this day. A new year is beginning, and I can't call you to say I'm bursting with wonderful news. Your arms won't encircle me when I grieve, when I mourn. You'll never know how the unexpected achievements, the abiding sorrows have come upon me. And yet, as I stand here, I allow myself some quiet moments so that once again your face may shine in my memory, so that I may feel you blessing me. The memorial prayers begin on page 291. They're formatted in a way that they are recited again and again, depending on who the memorialized person may be, for males and for females. Following page 292, we have memorial prayers for our martyrs, for all of our congregants. And on page 293, the Kel Malei Rachamim, for all those we remember in our service. Each of us now recites the prayers as they need. מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים לנשמות כל אחינו ואחיותינו מבית ישראל אנשים נשים וטף שמסרו את נפשם על קידוש השם בגני עדן תהי מנוחתם אנא בעל הרחמים הסתירם בסתר כנפיך לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם אדוני הוא נחלתם וינוחו בשלום על משכבותיהם ונאמר אמן. A memorial prayer for those who have fallen victim to the pandemic. אל מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים אמצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמות מיליוני אנשים, נשים וטף ברחבי העולם שסבלו ונספו מנגיף הקורונה. מהם עובדים חיוניים ואלו שעמלו בגבורה וחירפו נפשם להציל חיים שנדבקו ונפלו קורבן למגפה האכזרית. המונים מתו בכפם ומבודדים התאבלו משפחותיהם. לכן אנא בעל הרחמים הסתירם בסתר כנפיך לעולמים צרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם בגן עדן תהי מנוחתם וינוחו על משכבותם בשלום v'nomar amen. Memorial prayer for all those who have passed away in our community and beyond, including Dr. Jerry Weiss, Dr. Barbara Gordon, and Anna Goldstein from Shomrei, the Shomrei community. El malei rachamim shochein b'amromim Hamtzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina B'mahalot kedoshim u'torim kizoar harakia ma'zehirim V'nishmot kol eile she'izkarnu hayom livracha She'alechu le'olamam Began Eden tehei menuchatam Ana ba'al harachamim Astireim beseiter knafecha le'olamim Utzror b'tzror hachayim et nishmoteihem Adonai hu nachalatam Yanuchu v'shalom al mishkivoteihem v'nomar amen. Let's join together, page 293, Psalm 23, a Psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God gives me repose in green meadows, and guides me over calm waters. God will revive my spirit, and direct me on the right path, for that is God's way. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are at my side. Your staff and the rod comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shomrei Rabbah, Yalma, Divrach, Yirutei, Yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon, U'vyomechon, U'v'chayei, Dechol, Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, V'izman Karir, V'yimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, Mevorach, Li'olam, L'olmei Hayam. Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitba'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnasei, V'yithadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmei Nekudisha B'ri'u, Li'ela, Li'ela, Mikol, Birchata, V'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechemata, Da'amiran, V'yalma, V'yimru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, Chayim Aleinu, Yisrael, V'yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol Yoshvei Tevel, v'yimru Amen. Take your seats for a second, please. 295. Asher Yoshvei V'sechol Yalu Chaseh, Lo Hashem Tevelo, Lo Hashem Shalom. Two Torahs will be lifted and brought back into the Aron. Adonai daber pivi varech b'sar shem kodsho le'olam ba'ed v'anachnu nevarech ya mi'ata v'ad olam hallelujah. Yeah, hallelujah. Adonai, ki niskach shemo levado, ozo ha'eretz shamayim, hayaret keren li'am, ila lechol hasida, libnei Yisrael ha'miro, Israel, Komadman, Nuhatecha, Tavia, Ramizecha, Soanecha, Yubishutecha, Hasidecha, Iranenu, Uda Vidatecha, Teshevin, Mishichecha, Ilechacho, Ati Lachem, Orati, Aletazo, We're about to begin Musaf. Shliach Tzibor, the representative of the community, begins with a meditation. Then the half Kaddish is found on page 298. And then we will begin the Amidah again in a combined way. I think the word that these days is hybrid. So if you look at the sheet that was put into the Machzor, you'll see that we will begin after page 298, the half Kaddish. We will begin out loud as a community on page 313, 313, through page 318, the top of that page. And then individually we begin our prayers in silence. And for that, we turn back, after we're at the top of 318, we turn back to 301 through page, the last paragraph on that page, and continue through 311. So it's all written here, and you can follow it there for the Yom Kippur Musaf Amidat. If it be your will that I speak no more, and my voice be still as it was before, I will speak no more. I shall abide till I am spoken for, if it be your will. If it be your will that a voice be true from this broken hill, I will sing to you. From this broken hill, all your praises they shall ring, if it be your will to let me sing. From this broken hill, all your praises they shall ring, if it be your will to let me sing. If it be your will, if there is a choice, let the rivers fill, let the hills rejoice, let your mercy spill on all these burning hearts in hell, if it be your will to make us well. And draw us near, and bind us tight. All your children here in their rags of light, in our rags of light, all dressed to kill, and end this night, if it be your will, if it be your will. Yitkadal veyitkadal Shomrei Rabbi ve'alemadi v'rachirutei ve'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayechon beit Yisrael Agala u'vizman karev imru amen yesh me'raba mevarach le'alam la'almei almayah yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitba'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh ve'yitadar ve'yitaleh ve'yitahalal shmei dekudesha berichu le'ela le'ela mikol birchata ve'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma imru amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Ve'konei Yaakov V'zocher Chazdei Avot Ve'imahot U'mei Goel Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Zochreinu lechayim Melech hafetz b'chayim V'chotveinu l'sefer hachayim V'chotveinu b'sefer hachayim Lemancha Elohim echayim Melech oser ufokeh תושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי מתים, אתה רב להושיע, מחלקי לחיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופאי חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשעיני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אב הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים. ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. 3:15 ובכנו לך תעלה קדושה, כי אתה אלוהינו מלך מוחל וסולח. ונתן את הודל קדושת היום, כי הוא נורא ואיום, ובו תנשא מלכותך, ויכון בחסד כיסאך, ותשב עליו באמת. אמת כי אתה הוא דיין, ומוכיח ויודע באל, וחוטא בסופר ומונה, ותזכור כל הנשכחו, ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות, ומאליו יקרא וכל סמיין כל אדם בו. ובשופר גדול ייתקע, וקול במה דקה יישמע, ומלאכים יחפזון, וחיל ורעדה יוחזון, ויאמרו הנה יום הדין, לבכות על צבא מרום בדין, כי לא יזכו עיניך בדין. כל באי העולם יעברו לפניך, כי בני מרון, כי בני מרון. Yasar, mi ani umi asher, mi shafel, o mi yarom. 3:16 together. Utshuva, utfila, utzdaka, ma'avirin et roa hagzera. Ein tehilatecha kasher lichos v'noach lirtzot ki lo etachpots b'mot hameid ki im Vishuvo midarko v'chayam. You wait until the day of death. And if one returns, you accept that person back immediately. Truly, you are their creator, and you know the nature of your creatures. They are only flesh and blood. Adam yisodo me'afar v'sofo le'afar. V'nafsho yavi lachmo. Mashu ki cheres hanishbar kechatzi yavehi shuchetzit noveu kitzei lovei ruch yanan kala uchiruach noshavet uchyavak poreach achachalom ya'u v'yata hu melech el chai v'kayam. Ein kitzva lishnotecha ve'ein ketz le'orech yamecha ve'ein sha'er markevot kvotecha ve'ein lefarei shilum shemecha ay shiyimcha na'elecha ve'yata na'el ishmecha ushmeinu karata v'yishmecha leman shemecha oy v'kadesh et shemecha lemakdishei shemecha ba'avur kivot shimcha anaharat ve'anikdash kisot siach sarfei kodesh hamakdishim shimcha ba'kodesh darei malayim darei mata. 3:17 ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוא כל הארץ כבודו מלא עולם משרתיו שואלים זה לזה איה מקום כבודו ליומתם ברוך יאמרו ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו הוא יפר ברחמים ויחונם המייחדים שמו ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד פעמיים באהבה שמע אומרים שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד הוא אלוהינו הוא אבינו הוא מלכנו ומושיענו והוא ישמיענו ורחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדירת עירנו אדוני אדוננו מועדי שמך בכל הארץ והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ובעברי קודשך כתוב לאמור Baruch Adonai Leolam Elohai Tzion Dor vador Hallelujah Ledor vador Nagid Godlecha Ulenetzach Nitzachim Kedushatcha Nakdish V'shivechacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush leolam va'ed Ki ele melech gadol v'kadosh atam. We turn back to page 301 for our silent prayers. Last paragraph on 301. There are a number of special portions of the Amidah when recited as a community that give expression to special themes on Yom Kippur. They're special sections of remembrance and of giving expression to God's remembrance of us. One is that we remember the avodah, the service in the temple of old. I spoke a little bit about it in the sermon I just gave. So we reenact the Yom Kippur rituals that the high priest had to do. Second section is also remembering sacrifices of the Jewish people throughout time. Generation upon generation of faithful Jews who refused to relinquish their tradition, their holy way of life, their faith, despite pain and oppression and even death. That's the Martyrology. And also there is a special section of prayers that applies to all of the prayers of this season, and that's called Slichot, prayers of forgiveness. And here we remember that God taught us these prayers. When Moses first asked God to forgive the Jewish people for the sin of the golden calf, God said, Salachti kidvarecha, okay, I forgive as you asked. And then Moses says, so who are you? Show me who you really are. And God says, you'll never know who I really am. You can't. You're a human being. You're a finite creature. Hold on to this one thing. And then God puts God's hand, as it were, on Moses' head and says, don't peek. Just feel my hand and listen to what I have to say. I am a God full of compassion and love. That's what you have to remember. The 13 attributes of God's love and compassion and forgiveness are at the core of the Slichot prayers. Our Midrash says that God says to Moses, here, take these words and let the generations of the Jewish people from now on always recite these words when they seek to come closer to me. So we're going to just take a taste of each of these three sections. I'm going to ask that we stand now and turn to page 332. And this is the final confession of the high priest. Chaya omer, anashim chatu avu pashu lefanecha amcha beit Yisrael. Ana vashem kaperena lachataim velavonot velifshaim shechatu v'sheavu v'shepashu lefanecha amcha beit Yisrael. Hakatu v'torat Moshe avdecha ki vayom hazeh yechaper aleichem letaher etchem mikol chatoteichem lifnei Adonai ve'akohanim ve'ha'am ha'omdim b'hazara yeshayu שומעים את השם הנכבד והנורא, מפורש יוצא מפי כהן גדול, בקדושה ובטהרה, היו קוראים משתחווים ומודים ונופלים על פניהם ואומרים ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואף הוא היה מתכוון לגמור את השם כנגד המברכים ויאמר להם תתארו ואתה בטובך מעורר רחמך וסולח לעדת ישורו. Now let's turn to page 336. You can remain standing, that would be good. The 13 attributes of God's mercy. El Rachapayim Atov Al Rachamim Nikreita Tavor Al Pesha V'Timche Hashem Yom Vayityatzei V'Imosham Tazin Shavateinu V'Takshiv Menu Ma'amar Ki Yom Vayikra B'Shem Adonai V'Sham Nehemar Vayavor Adonai Al Panav Vayikra Adonai Adonai Ele Rachum V'Chanun Erech Chayim V'Rav Chesed V'Yemet Notzeh Chesed L'Alafim Nosei Avon V'Fesha V'Chata V'Nakeh V'Salachta L'Avoneinu U'Lechatatainu U'Nechaltanu Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu Mechala lanu malkeinu ki fashanu Yata Adonai tov v'salach V'rav chesed l'chol kor'echa. Okay, be seated. The section called the Martyrology, Ela Eskira, is a section that unfortunately could be a section of many, many, many volumes. We're just going to touch on 3 general moments of our history. One story from the rabbinic period, reference to the Spanish expulsion, and then more recent horrific moments that are still within living memory of many in our community. Page 337, the martyrdom of Rabbi Akiva. The Romans decreed that the people of Israel no longer be allowed to study Torah. Rabbi Akiva publicly convened assemblies and continued to teach Torah. He was captured and imprisoned. The hour of execution was the time for the recitation of the morning Shema. So as they scraped his skin with iron combs, he recited the Shema, accepting the yoke of the sovereignty of heaven. His pupils cried out, "Even now?" And he said to them, "All my life I was troubled that I could not fulfill the verse, to love God with all your soul. That is, even should God take your life. And I asked myself, when will the time come that I can fulfill this verse? Now that I have that possibility, shouldn't I fulfill it?" And he prolonged the word Echad, one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. So that his soul left him as he uttered the word Echad. Page 339, the bottom of the page. Judah and Israel know how bitter I am, as I tremble for my sins, shuddering and shaking. For gone is my song, or any possible joy, replaced by memories of Seville, now lost and forsaken. Gone as well are the crown of Catalonia and Aragon. Ruled are you now by a pillaging crew. The last stanza is on 340. Gone prophetic dreams and visions of hope, priestly charm, or help from the holy name are past. We will not hear the call of Elijah, God's prophet, for heaven has restrained him, and he is told, stand fast. Salvation is God from the Hebrew folk. New troubles spring up as a fiery blaze. For gone is God's presence, no longer found on earth, not in temple or folk, or amidst glorious praise. And yet, we have on record this declaration by a refugee exiled from Spain after he witnessed the death of his wife and children. He called out, Ribon ha'olamim, Harbe ata oseh she'ezov dati. Lord of the universe, you are doing much to make me desert my faith. Teida ne'emana. But know this for sure. She'al korcham she'yoshvei shamayim, Yehudi ani, v'Yehudi eheyeh, v'lo yo'il kol ma she'eveta v'tavi alai. Even against the will of the dwellers in heaven, a Jew I am, and a Jew I shall remain. And neither the sufferings that you have brought upon me, nor that which you will yet bring upon me, will be of any avail. Page 342. This poem by Charles Reznikov in the left-hand margin. Out of the strong sweetness, and out of the dead body of the Lion of Judah, the prophecies and the Psalms, out of the slaves in Egypt, out of the wandering tribesmen of the deserts, and the peasants of Palestine, out of the slaves of Babylonia and Rome, out of the ghettos of Spain and Portugal, Germany and Poland, the Torah and the prophecies, the Talmud and the sacred studies, the hymns and the songs of the Jews. And out of the Jewish dead of Belgium and Holland and Romania and Hungary and Bulgaria, France and Italy and Yugoslavia, Lithuania and Latvia, White Russia and Ukraine, Czechoslovakia and Austria, Poland and Germany, out of the greatly wronged, a people teaching and doing justice. Out of the plundered, a generous people. Out of the wounded, a people of physicians. Out of those who are met only with hate, a people of love, a compassionate people. Page 346. Please rise. Please repeat these verses after me. Shema koleinu, Adonai Eloheinu, chuz v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel v'rachamim u'v'ratzon et tfilateinu. Hashiveinu Adonai elecha v'nashuva chadesh yameinu kekedem. Al tashlicheinu milfanecha v'ruach kodshecha al tikach mimenu. Al tashlicheinu liyeit zikna kichlot kolcheinu al ta'azteinu. Page 348. Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu tabo lefanecha tfilatenu v'al titala mitchinatenu she'ein anachnu azefanu v'kshe'yoref l'mal lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu tzadikim anachnu v'lo chatanu אבל אנחנו ואבותינו חטאנו. איי, 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 אשמנו, בגדנו, גזלנו, דיברנו דופי. איי, 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 הבינו והרשענו, זנו, חמסנו, טבחנו שקר, יעצנו רע, כיזבנו, לחצנו, מרדנו, נייסנו, שררנו, אבינו, פשענו, צררנו, קישינו עורף. איי, 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 רשענו, שכחנו, תיעבנו, טעינו, תיקנו. Page 359. יתקדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לילה לילה מכל ברכתה, מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן ביעלמה, ואמרו אמן. תקבל צלותון ובאותון לכל ישראל, קודם אבוהון במשמיה, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, אמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, אמרו amen. May be seated just for a second. Let's turn to 347 and give it one more go together. Half of the page. Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu, Silach lanu mechal lanu, kaber lanu, ki anu amecha, ve'ata Eloheinu, anu v'ardecha, ve'ata avinu, anu avadecha, ve'ata Adonenu, anu kehalecha, ve'ata chelkeinu, anu nachlatecha, ve'ata goraleinu, anu sonecha, ve'ata ro'einu, anu Charmecha ve'ata notreinu, anu viulatecha ve'ata yotzreinu, anu ve'ata dodeinu, anu סגולתך ואתה קרובנו, אנו עמך ואתה מלכנו, אנו ממירך ואתה ממירנו. שנה טובה.
When she's on. Yeah. But she'll have a chance.
Yeah, I saw quick through it. I think he's still in the hospital. It's just, and the second day, I thought he was going to get somebody else. Apparently there were what, today? Today. I think it went on too long. That's what 2 hours. All right.
before the pandemic, and they had a virus. They actually did fairly well during the pandemic. They wanted not so.
You okay? Have your lady friend? Oh, yeah, they're actually, it's actually quite like, they don't get to see. Perfectly healthy. How's everything? Yeah? I say it's wonderful, but you're the one.
You need a wonderful lunch, 45 cents. How 45 cents? I mean, what we spend now
Wow.
is 40 times that, not twice that.
Are you living in Oklahoma?
It's just a great place to grow up. You live near there now.
We all get home from New York City, we're all like,
I live in Harlem.
and then they own for
Yeah, 118th Street.
I grew up on 177th Street. What I remember most was when I got into performing arts, my mother didn't say, "Are you really going to summer?" She said, "I think we should get you abroad."
Yeah, oh, that, my brother was
Well, I was very young then.
He was on second
I was 12, but it was
except
safe
for
to
the
go
building,
in
it was a
summer.
very nice new.
It was safe to go in April.
But all around it was
Was a
all,
different
like
city.
old warehouses.
There's still a lot of things to buy and sell from themselves.
I think if you're three people, you're fine.
How you doing? Yeah, I'm good.
Cigarettes to the child. The people were
Yeah.
excused.
I was on the side with it,
I'm not afraid of a subway car.
Carol and her ride home.
Somebody.
Cutting out.
Nice people. Great city.
Big world out there. It's a big world. Let me bag this up. Can we just have 2 seconds till our wedding to come?
Yeah. You probably should, like, give me things I should be thinking about.
Oh my God, of course not.
If I ask you.
But it's, I guess a
Have
year.
you planned a date?
Yeah, we're having it September 8th. We were originally, we're not like marginally planning it as we should be, but we were originally going to do it this year and then obviously the time back.
Do it here?
No.
Oh, I
We're
thought
not,
you
we're not going to do it this year.
But is your plan to have like a big giant wedding, like a title? Do you have a sense like that, or is that still?
So, I think like somewhere in the middle, the space we have, it's like a pretty big backyard. So I think we'll do like between 60 and 80 people. I'm someone who, it doesn't need to be that nice, I just want as many people as possible.
You could say it's smaller and only have 20 people.
Yeah. Because I'm like, that's the fun of it, is like bringing all the people, who've been a part of your life and kind of like bring them together. Then who's so my fiance is like, no, I also want to be nice. So now that we have like a
Giant
giant
family or tiny family?
I mean, I would
Yeah, right.
It just depends on her being able to buy whatever dress she wants. As someone who's a bride, I can tell you that. It's really true. It's the only time in your life nobody has the right to tell you what they think they do, what to wear.
You can sort of get away with anything as a bride.
Whatever you
It's up to you
want.
to see.
Well, she's marrying him, she must be pretty independent.
It's true. I mean, clearly, I have.
I'm not a clothes horse.
I have leeway with my style too.
I just know your mother.
Yeah.
Toby, hold it. I'm gonna take you outside in 1 second. Let me just get my bag. But where is her family? All around, huge, tiny.
Yeah, they're all over. Her siblings are both on the West Coast in Portland.
Yeah, but
She has-
they'll come.
She has, they'll 100% come. She has an older sister with a partner, kids, and a younger brother.
But that's a lot of people. Okay, so there's just the family, the siblings.
Yeah, and then her parents are in Ivory Coast, which is where she was from originally.
Wow.
So they'll come. I'm not sure who else will come from her family.
So is there any possibility you guys will do an Ivory Coast ceremony also?
There's been some family, I mean, Rousseau's one of the more independent people I've like ever met.
Okay.
So her family would like that. I don't know if we'll be able to. I think, you know, she hasn't been there a long time. I've never been there. So I think her family moved back there more recently. Oh, well, her dad's been there for a while. Her mom was in New York for a while until like right before COVID.
I see, okay, so, yeah.
But we might, I mean, we'll see. The thing, like, being a performer, you have an amazing schedule. You can take us free all day.
Yeah.
But it's hard to take like lots of time off. So we'll see if we can find like a week to go out there. And then, I mean, when I was like super young after high school, I spent 5 months in Ghana. I've never been back. So like, if we do that, I would selfishly love to spend some time back there.
Great, that would be really nice. Wow. I've never been to Ghana, but it seems like a cool place.
Have you been to Africa at all?
Yeah, we went just before the pandemic, a couple weeks ago in Benin, which is really exciting.
Like, not many people go to Benin.
Yes, no one, Benin is, you're certainly the only tourist ever.
Yeah.
Basically, because it's, Benin is like the place where voodoo sort of originated and is, I think, most densely practiced. There are other places as well, but it's the kind of sacred precincts of that religion. And so it's fascinating in that sense. And other than that, we just kind of wanted the total to go to West Africa somewhere, and so that afforded us enough of a sense of, there'll be like some stuff to do. But there's not a lot of conventional tourist sites. Benin is.
Did you take your kids?
No, I always go to
Yeah. It was fun. It's a wonderful place. It's a little expensive to.
Once you get there,
Once you're there, there's a real limit on how much you can spend. Like we slept on the roofs of houses and the hotels we stayed in.
I think it was great for your kids.
Oh, it was fun. It was great. It was a great trip.
Did you plan it all out beforehand, or did you figure
We really
a good amount?
No, I'm planning it out very carefully because it's just, I don't know, our experience has been like, planning trips is always worth it. Like getting there and being like, wait, what are we doing? Like it's just, yeah, but there's also, there was like, and this is like a crazy detail, but there was like some village that was like a tiny set of villages in the hills in northern Benin, near the border with Burkina Faso, and it had been sealed off, as it were, from outsiders since the 50s. And it's just a fascinating place. We've read a lot about it. What a thing to be able to find. It's like, we did tons of research. We found this one WhatsApp member of a guy who like lives in the village who was like, yeah, I can take you in. And it was worth finding him and figuring out the day he would be around, because it was a very special and exciting day, but not otherwise really accessible.
Benin is next to Nigeria, between Togo and Nigeria?
Exactly. It's Togo to the west, Nigeria to the east.
Okay. Yeah, it's Ghana on the northwest. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
tiny. And there's a city, we didn't go to the city, so we were in really very rural parts of Benin throughout. There is one city, we just didn't go there. Anyway, what an exciting thing. I hope you guys can add some kind of Ghana or Ivory Coast.
If we have time, I want to do Ghana and then Senegal, because it's supposed to be.
Yeah, Senegal's supposed to be
amazing.
wonderful.
Yeah. So we'll see what time and money and all those things, what restrictions are working.
Yeah. Well, Senegal would be great. Another place that one day we'll go to. We have our dream is our next trip will be in East Africa, because we haven't been to East Africa, which is so culturally different. But we'll see. We have a lot in Ethiopia, but it's not very safe at this point, unfortunately. Serious civil war happening.
Yeah.
One day. And I've been learning. This is of interest, possibly. For the last 14 months, I've been teaching. You don't know this, Toby.
I'm sorry?
You don't know this. For the last 14 months, I've been teaching myself Amharic, which is the language of Ethiopia.
Oh my God.
And it's incredibly interesting, incredibly hard. And I started learning it for many reasons, but one of them was a dream that like I would learn Amharic for a year or two, and then when we go to Ethiopia, it'll be so exciting. I'll be able to speak to people in Amharic. And they're having such a tragic civil war that there's no possibility of going there anytime soon. It'll be lucky if it ends up as a single country.
One of your daughters is starting college in a year.
Yes.
That's expensive.
It's true, but this is, this is what we save for.
It's not what college used to be. I mean,
No.
No, I
Not
think it's
45 cents.
amazing.
Oh, my God.
Do you know what college cost when I went? And I didn't have it, mind you. $815. I went to Barnard
It is.
a year.
It is so
$815. And I needed a scholarship, but I got it. It's all right.
It is a lot of money.
It's sort of ridiculous. If I thought if the money was going to improve teaching, if they hired some teachers who've retired and were known to be brilliant and paid them good money. But it's not that. It's for political reasons so much that it costs so much now.
It's hard to know the justification of it. It's a lot.
Did you go to college in America?
I did.
I've been dying to say that to you.
I know all about it, yeah. What's the next question?
I can't hear you, so it's
I said,
fine.
what's your next question?
I'm sorry?
What's your next question?
I don't have another question.
Well,
I'm
it was
just
very
admiring
expensive.
something that I had a lot to do with. There's very little initial. You see the trimming in the wood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to have a central table before you guys were born.
Uh-huh.
And they decided when they redid this synagogue about, I don't know, 30 years ago. I was sort of new here, and I was supposed to help with the decorating committee, but it's a very minor party. I came in, and it was very large, and it was on the floor in a corner to be thrown out.
Wow.
And I didn't say to the people involved, I really wanted them not to throw it out, so I didn't say, one of the best people who ever belonged to this show did that.
Oh.
On a trip to Japan, she did it on the plane,
so
going and
nice.
coming. It was very large.
Wow, that's.
I mean, went
cool.
around a big table.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
And fortunately, I thought of a different way to say it, and Linda Engelhardt, who was in charge of the committee, said, maybe we should ask the guy who's making those small tables for us, if he can integrate it. And it made me so happy because the person who had done the work, was one of the nicest human beings I'd ever met in my life. In fact, the first time I ever went to a Seder was at her house.
Very nice.
I was a big shot where I worked.
What was her name?
And her daughter was a secretary in the group that reported to me. And told her mother I'd never been to a Seder. So I was a Seder in
That's so
Montclair.
nice.
Was my first experience.
That's great.
But that's really nice.
That's
I mean, I'm
beautiful.
sitting staring at it.
Yeah, that's
It
nice.
is.
It's a beautiful thing.
You don't have to throw things out that have meaning.
Hey, Toby, stand up slowly. Hey, I'm gonna ask you a favor. No,
Then
don't
I'm
take
gonna
it.
sit down.
No,
Why?
stand up, come on. I am gonna get the car to give Toby a ride. Can you walk Toby out to the downstairs?
I really can get to the car.
No, but he's such a helpful guy.
We get to hang out together.
It'll be an extra plus for him.
Why? Does he need that with you?
Well, he does.
Yom
he
Kippur.
does.
His
could also
mother
use that.
doesn't require any, and his father isn't gonna give a shit about that.
Oh,
But I'll be
good.
glad to walk down with
Good.
him.
All right, I'll meet you downstairs in a minute. I just want to pull the car.
Okay. It's just hard for me to get to my house.
Elevator, and then there's a little curb cut outside. I'll just pull the car around. I just gotta get it from down the block. Okay, all right, see you
Well,
later.
do you want a hand, Toby?
Not here, but I'll take it when I do need it, I'll grab it, I promise. You know, the volunteers are driving me one part of yesterday, and suddenly it became the entire hunter. The
Ooh,
girls
I
are,
love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
the girls are terrific. And, I like them a lot.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm sure it means a lot for them too. We're all still involved.
No, they love to be helpful.
That's what I mean, in a very genuine way. Yeah.
If you said to them, I have every step of that.
it's pretty weird. You walk into the hotel lobby, the staff doesn't,
Right.
Nobody. No. Yeah. I mean, we were kind of. Piece of me where I was wondering, is this finally the moment where stupidity burns itself out? I don't know, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I really don't think so. Although, California gave me some hope. Yeah. That you could shut down stupid eventually.